that perfectly leads me to what I wanted to talk about next, and I'm glad I set things up this way. Did everyone forget about Richie James Jr.? It seemed, I mean, to me, he pretty clearly, is the wide receiver 3 on this team. So I don't understand why there's all these fans who are asking who the wide receiver 3 is going to be all the time. I mean, I certainly have been one of them, but at the same time, I mean, what are we all doing, Jesse? Are we forgetting about Richie James Jr.?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the surface as a fan, Richie James Jr. would and should be the guy, but there's something there. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to say that Shanahan doesn't like him, but he definitely falls out of favor for him. And he does tend to go for big body guys at that
Right.
slot position. And Richie James does not fit that mold. So I don't know. I don't know what his best role is. I think that he's a guy that can maybe play in the slot or outside, but when you're kind of a tweener like that in this offense, then that tells me that you're probably the fourth guy. And I think that Sanu's most likely going to win that spot. He's a veteran. He knows the offense. He's already working with Trey. He looks a lot quicker. He looks like he's in better shape. And let's not forget, I think he's only like 31 years old. He's not that old.
He is.
So he definitely could win that spot for sure.
Well, and I think the only, I guess, part of that I would have pushback on is when this team had to rely on a wide receiver last year when they had all their injuries, Richie James Jr. was the guy. I mean, there was the Richie James Jr. game last year. So I think when we
But it was like him and River Craycraft were the options.
it was, but the team still had Mohammed Sanu last year. He only got one catch, I think, the entire season, right? So, I mean, Mohammed Sanu did have his opportunity last year. But I think just with Richie James, the thing I want to point out more than anything is going back to something you were saying earlier, is if there is an injury to either Debo, Ayuk, or Kittle, that's a guy who I think gets more run immediately because, like you said, he is that tweener sort of role to where he is going to fit. He can fit in that, not exactly the Debo role or exactly the Ayuk role, but certain properties of it to where if the 49ers need a Band-Aid for 2, 3 games, 4 games, I think he certainly can go in and fill that position really well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, okay, so let's say Debo goes out.
Right.
He's nobody's Debo.
No.
But if you use him in the screen game or something like that, then that could work. Or if you want to use Ayuk as that Debo gadget type player and then let him take the top off, that could work. So no matter what, I think he definitely fits that role.